going to start coming close to the end of the daring to wait on God today, folks. We're going to be daring to wait on God today. It's almost like our part 9 to this series that we have been working on. And how many of you have been waiting for something for a while? How many of you know what it means to wait for something? Right? You know, waiting is not easy, folks. You know, because a few weeks ago, I was waiting for, I went to get a haircut. You know, I tell you how difficult sometimes waiting is, no matter how simple the task. But I went for a haircut. I was going to be heading out of town, and I went to a haircut. I usually go to this place on Chambers Street. It's a school. It's a barber school. And I go there because, my hair is so easy to cut, and so, no problem cutting my hair. So, I think any student can cut my hair. So I go to the barber shop, and I've been going there for years. And it's really inexpensive. You just pay $7. And it gives me an opportunity to give them a good tip, too. So praise God, I went several weeks ago. I go for this haircut, and, so every so often, very rarely I get a person that's done my hair before. There's usually someone new every single time. So I'm sitting and I finally sit on the chair, and I'm in a rush, And so this young guy comes, and he basically always asks me what kind of cut you want. And I tell him just simple, 2.5 on the top, 1.5 on the side, and that's all. That's all it would take. So I sit down, and I'm ready, and the guy starts to shave, and all of a sudden I start to smell something, and it's really bad. And I'm saying, whoa, what is that smell? And every time this guy gets to the side of me, that smell hits me in the face, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, whoa, I'm really, it's almost like a slap in the face. And I'm trying to turn my face, and I know he needs to cut my hair, but I can't. See, there was an instant to turn my head, but I couldn't help it. Now, I didn't want to be rude to the individual and say, listen, by the way, what am I going to say to him? I don't want to hurt his feelings. I don't want to be rude, but then again, I don't want to sit there and just, the blunders. But when he would turn on the side, it would be okay. I would hold my breath, and I figured, maybe wait. I'm going to have to wait this out. But every time he would turn to this side, I just couldn't help but turn my head. So anyway, as I'm waiting there, asking the Lord, what would I do? Should I tell this guy, sir, I need to go? Or should I just, hold my breath? Because now I'm trying to think about, if I hold my breath, I'm going to have to try to breathe through my mouth and not through my nose. And I'm working all these scenarios in my mind. But the point is that I can actually wait it out, And, because I remember when I was in saving 30-something years ago, I don't know, there was a stand-up comic who made a joke about that. He went to another country, and he was all very classy, very dressed with perfume, and so he went to get a haircut somewhere out there, and the guy had an odor, and he was like, woo! But the guy that was cutting his hair was almost saying, what's wrong with this guy? Woo! He said, his cologne smells, right? So who's right? Is it him or is it me? But the point sometimes, waiting things out is not very pleasant. I waited it out. I didn't say anything. I prayed for the guy. Maybe it's, a gland issue. It could have been something. Anything could have happened. But folks, we are daring to wait on God. Amen. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 11 tells God says, he says, God does everything just right and on time. But people can never completely understand what He is doing. So often we can't understand why God will allow things to last so long. No one has ever said that waiting is easy. For the first time, even I remember many months ago, I put something in a microwave for 1 minute, and it was taking too long. We live in a time where we want everything like this. And so often, God has His own plan for us. Turn to someone and say, God has His own plans for you. We face challenges of waiting for that moment, for that big thing, to the healing, for the light at the end of the tunnel. We're always waiting. Always. For something to be revealed. Waiting has become even harder today. But waiting is an important part of life. I want you to turn to someone and say, waiting is an important part of life. Waiting is an important part of life. You may be waiting on God to heal your disease, bring employment, answer your prayer for something. Sometimes, though, God has worked on us before He said He needs to work on us before He can work out the problem.
That's right. Amen.
Because sometimes we are the problem.
Amen.
I like to say most of the time we're the problem. I would like to say all the time, but I don't want to go that far. Only God knows that, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes God has to work on us before He can work out our problems. And faith, folks, faith, say faith. Faith unlocks the promises of God to help us have the power to endure and persevere as we wait. Now I want to go to Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31. Think about this, because the Israelites during this time are in slavery. They're enslaved by the Babylonians. And here they are, Isaiah is telling the Israelites, because they are complaining, crying out. And in verse 27, he says, "O Israel, how can you say the Lord does not see your troubles? How can you say that God refuses to hear your case?" This is Isaiah telling the Israelites, because they're saying, "Oh, where are you, God?" And if you read Isaiah, you can see all the complaints of the people. He said, "Don't you know the Lord is everlasting God? The everlasting God, the creator of all the earth. He never grows faint or weary. No one can measure the power or the depth of understanding." Verse 29, "He gives power to those who are tired and worn out. He offers strength to the weak. And even youth will become exhausted, and even youth will give up." He said it doesn't matter whether you're young or old, it doesn't matter. Everyone will get weary at times. But he says here in verse 31, it says, "But those who wait on the Lord will what? Renew their strength."
Hallelujah.
And then he finishes with saying, not only will they renew their strength, he said they will fly high on wings like eagles.
Hallelujah.
He said they will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint.
Hallelujah.
See, God has a plan that if you trust Him enough, He's going to get you to a place that you're going to soar like the eagle.
Hallelujah.
Now, what does the eagle do? The eagle rides the storm.
Yeah.
It's his playground.
Yeah.
You see, the eagle doesn't get fazed by the breeze or storm, whatever it looks like, he rides it. But then he's also saying, not only does he ride it, not does he get you above all of those things, he said you won't grow weary. He said no matter what takes place in your life, if you learn to wait on God and trust Him, things will work out far better than the way you think you have it planned.
You've seen it before. Amen.
But we have a hard time waiting. Waiting is an important part, folks, like I just said. But it takes faith. See, it shows us that the power of God, and it turns dreams into reality. It gives us the power to hold on to tough times. And folks, the Bible is very clear. It says in these days, in all days, because it says in this world you're going to have trouble. And the trouble's there for a reason. We just can't seem to understand what's the purpose. Because we don't like pain. He doesn't always take away the pain. Turn to someone and say, God doesn't always take away the pain.
God doesn't always take away the pain.
So tell me what you just heard. Naruto, tell me what you just heard.
God doesn't always take away the pain.
You can't put it any other way? Huh? If you were to put it some other way, what would you say?
God doesn't want to take out the problem.
That's right. Think about it. He's not going to always take care of the pain. What?
Are you going to be glorified in this?
Are you going to be glorified in this? Yes.
We persevere will be rewarded.
You'll be persevering, you'll be rewarded.
God won't take your dependence on Him away.
That's right. Hallelujah. So here it is. So he's telling us, right, that he doesn't always take away the pain. He gives you faith to handle the pain.
Hallelujah.
So what does he give you?
Faith.
How does faith work? See, faith is not a feeling. So if you think faith is a feeling, now you're going to misinterpret what faith really means. And so you're not going to be able to see what God is doing in the midst of your problems. We need to understand how faith works. Faith He said, God doesn't always take away the problem. He stretches your faith by taking you through the problem. See? He stretches you by taking you through it so that you can get stronger. And when you can get that strong, you know, we talked about a series about being spiritually fit, right? We need to be spiritually fit. That's what faith is all about. It's understanding the concept of what God has imparted on us through the Holy Spirit. But if we don't have the wisdom, we don't know the Word of God, we don't know the truth, then we're going to fall into the trap. So here it is. There's several scriptures we're going to be focusing on today, because as you see in Isaiah, just as the Israelites quickly to forget the miracles, they easily forget the things God done. We always forget what God has done for us, because if we were to remember what God does for you, you wouldn't have these particular problems, struggling with these particular problems. Doesn't mean you won't have the problems, so you won't struggle with them. It's a big difference. So he gives us a faith to handle the pain. And God doesn't always take you out of the storm, because he wants you to trust in him in the midst of the storm. What did you just hear?
God wants you to trust.
How many we just say, Lord, I don't want to go through that? It's a natural thing to say, right? God, help me, don't take this away from me, Lord. Yes, Anthony.
Yeah, you are in fact contradicting some of the feelings that you might have, despite what you feel. You are believing in God, even though the path is uncertain.
That's right. You can't always trust what you feel, because your feelings could be deceiving you. You see, the point is, the feelings are real. You can't deny them, but they may not be true. David, in his struggles, running, in Psalm 27, he writes, wait patiently for the Lord. Be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently for the Lord. This is David when he's running for his life at this point from Saul. And he's asking you, listen, we're just going to have to wait it out. Stop the grumbling and the complaining. Understand that God has a plan and a purpose. You may, but one of the things you want to be able to do, and we're going to learn how to wait appropriately. Okay? Sometimes we don't understand the concept of waiting as God is saying. You see, but in Psalm 40, if you go chapter 40, the book of Psalms, and here's what David's writing. He says, I waited patiently for the Lord to help me. And he turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the pit of despair, out of the mud and the mire, and he set my feet on solid ground, and he steadied me. I walked along, and he given me a new song to sing, a hymn of praise to our God. And he says, I waited, and when I waited long enough, that he knew that I trusted him no matter what, then he was in a position to praise God and sing. But he was praising him regardless. And sometimes it's hard for us to do that. So I'm going to read you a little poem. I've got into reading poems now. Are you ready? Little poem. This poem is called Wait. Desperately, helplessly, longingly I cried. Quietly, patiently, lovingly God replied. I plead, I wept for a clue to my fate. And the master so gently said, child, you must wait. My future and all to which I relate hangs in the balance. You tell me to wait. I'm needing a yes, a go-ahead sign, or a no, to which then I can resign. The Lord, and Lord, you promised that if we believe, we need but to ask, and we shall receive. And Lord, you've been asking. I've been asking. And this is my cry. I'm weary of asking. I need a reply. Then quietly, softly, I learn of my fate. As my master replied once again, you must wait. So I slumbered in my chair, defeated and taunt. So I slumbered in my chair, defeated and taunt. I grumbled to God, so I'm waiting for what? He seemed then to kneel, and his eyes wept with mine. And he tenderly said, I could give you a sign. I can shake the heavens and darken the sun. I could raise the dead and cause the mountains to run. All you seek, I could give, and pleased you will be. You would have what you want, but you would not know me. You not know the depth of my love for each saint. You not know the power that I give to the faint. You'll not learn to see through the clouds of despair. You'll not learn to trust my knowing I am there. You'll not know the joy of resting in me when darkness and silence were all you could see. I've never experienced that fullness of love as the peace of my spirit descended like a dove. The glow of my comfort late into the night. The faith that I give when you walk throughout without sight. The depth that's beyond getting just what you asked of an infinite God who makes what you have last. So be silent, my child. And in time you will see that the greatest gift is to get to know me. And though often my answers seem terribly late, my most precious answer of all is still wait. What do you hear God saying? Those who wait on the Lord, folks. 2 Peter. He says to us, but you must not forget, dear friends. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 8. But you must not forget, dear friends, that a day is like 1,000 years to the Lord. And 1,000 years is like a day. The Lord isn't really being slow about His promises to return, as some people think. No. He's being patient for your sake. For your sake. Turn to someone. He's being patient for your sake. Sometimes we think we want to be out of this thing once and for all, but He's saying it's for your sake. If you're waiting, it's because He has a plan for you and a purpose for what you're going through. It is not an accident that God would wait so long. The most important characteristic you can teach a child, and we need to sort of apply in our own life, is resilience. Kids are resilient. Then the resilience is the ability to bounce back. It's the ability to keep going. See? That's what God has given us, wants us to hold on to. Nobody goes through life with an unbroken chain of successes. Everybody has failures and mistakes. Everybody. We all experience letdowns. We all have pain. We all have problems. We all have pressures. Some more than others. The people who make it in life have the one important quality is to be resilient. Endure. Persevere. That's what the word says. Trust Him. Trust Him through these things. We need to learn to, and a lot of times we say, don't worry. He's saying, turn your prayers, turn your worry, your problems into a prayer. Learn to go to Him. Do not react. Don't let the emotions get you to a whirlwind of reactions. Many times we feel like quitting. Quitting the job, quitting the relationship, quitting the ministry, quitting anything in life. Too often it gets too complicated. There's always all kinds of drama.
Always.
Enemy stirs up all kinds of drama because the battles we fight is not flesh and blood.
That's right.
We just get so caught up in our feelings that we make the person next door, the people we're struggling with, the problem.
No.
They're not the problem. We want to check out and have a drama-free life. But running away from our problems is not an option, folks, for believers. Turn to someone and say, it's not an option for you to run away. Going to another church is not an option. You know, we think that we will go there better. If you're not doing what God's calling you to do here now, believe me, folks, you're the problem. I had a situation that went away, like I said a couple of weeks ago. About 30 years ago, I had a falling out with a family member. 30 years ago. Family member that I helped out of a situation, well, you know, I was just recently got saved. And I had shared this story once before. And I was really close with this family member. We used to visit, we used to go places. We used to have a great time. And one day, their 16-year-old daughter, got pregnant and the mother threw her out. So that daughter came to my doorstep, knock, knock, she didn't know where to go. She's 16 years old, she was pregnant, mom threw her out. And because I took her in, her mom, the family ordered this sort of disowned me, I was just a beginning believer. I had to do what God called me to do. I had to take her in, and so I did. And so we hadn't spoken in who knows how long till I went to Puerto Rico this past couple of weeks. And it so happens that this mother, she was out there, and when I left New York, I couldn't contact anyone in Puerto Rico because of phone problems. And so I couldn't reach anyone, so I figured I have to go anyway. If I have a house up there, I gotta go take care of business. So when I go out there, I went out there, taking a chance, I'll probably find one of my cousins, some family member that I could stay with. I was gonna wing it. So I went winging it. And so it so happens that the cousin I usually go to, and she always has a place because she has a lot of property, but she had all the property rented. And so she says, why don't you go to my sister's house? This is the one I had a problem with 30 years ago. So I don't have a problem with, she doesn't have a problem. But she had recently lost her husband, so she was lonely, she doesn't know how to get around. So I went over there, she welcomed me in, it was like, she accommodated me for everything. But there was still that elephant in the room. 30 years ago. And it so happens that she's asking me all these questions about the Lord, and she's eager to hear about the Word of God, and I'm talking to her about the Word of God. She has all these questions, and I'm just ministering and ministering. And Louis is not here today, but he can testify to that because he was there. And she was really deep and all that, and it comes down that she had this dilemma. And her dilemma was, one of her dilemmas, there were many, and I was working with her, I stood there, we would come late, and whatever time we had to share time with her, we talked. A lot was about the Lord. And all of a sudden, here it goes, all of a sudden she shares a real death situation she has. She has this property, and she has a granddaughter, which the daughter threw out. And her dilemma is, should I take her in? Because if I take her in, my daughter's going to disown me. And I need my daughter. What does that remind you of?
30 years ago.
30 years ago. So I said, do you remember 30 years ago? Do you remember 30 years ago? I said, you remember? You kicked out your daughter, and I said, yeah, I felt betrayed, she said. Well, that's how your daughter's gonna feel. But what's the right thing to do? What's the right thing to do? Now she had regret of what she did. Took her who knows how long to feel. And why did it take so long? See, we always wonder, why does it take so long? Because some people were not willing to change. Some people are not willing to change. Folks, if something happens in your life, tragedy, whatever the case may be, anything, it causes a change. Don't expect to go back to things going back to normal. Things are not meant to go back to normal. You're meant to evolve and grow. But if you want the same thing you've always had, you're going to miss what God is trying to do in your life. We always want what we're comfortable with, what I used to have. But you weren't meant to have that. Because what happened there could happen again. Think about what God is asking. When David was in those caves running for his life, when all these things were happening, Jacob, for example. Think about what happened with Jacob. You know the story? Tell me, you know with Jacob? But Jacob, he cheated his brother Esau from his inheritance, and then he had to run because his brother was going to kill him. So he goes to his uncle, and his uncle, you know, he falls in love with his cousin, and his uncle says, you know, you want to marry my cousin, you have to work for me for 7 years, and after that. But for Jacob, and the Bible says, if you look at Genesis chapter 3, verse 20, Jacob, he said he spent 7 years working to pay rent for Rachel, but his love for her was so strong that it only seemed like a few days. Sometimes when we have faith and trust in God to the point that we know that God's there, it won't take as long as you think.
Amen.
These 30 years, I didn't even believe it was that long. Bam! But when the time came to talk to her, I said, do you remember 30 years ago? It was like it was yesterday. I didn't do it to try to hurt her. I just wanted her to see her situation and how God can work in that. Maybe it won't have to take 30 years for her. Maybe it'll only be a few moments. And so often we get so caught up with how do we deal with this? The most important characteristic is to learn to endure and persevere. Many times we feel like quitting. Many times the emotions are out of control. But folks, remember, we have the power of God in our side. Turn to someone. You have the power of God in your side. The creator of all things. I mean, how can you forget that? Unless you don't believe. Unless you don't have the faith. And now we have to work on developing that faith. That's all. Have faith. Believe God can do something in any moment that could change the direction of your life. Just don't expect the things to stay the same. Turn to someone. Don't expect things to stay the same. We want to go back to a feeling. Sometimes we don't know what to feel moving forward. We know sometimes we don't know what to expect. But you can have faith and trust that God will take you through it. That He will never leave you, never forsake you. You need to believe that. Don't miss your blessing, folks. So keep moving forward. Believe that God will give you exactly what you need when you need it.
Yes.
Wait on God and stay committed. And let Him accomplish His purpose in you.
Amen.
Because if we are looking for that feeling, or we're looking for things to go our way, you might be missing it already. The Israelites in the desert couldn't see none of the miracles that God did for them. Not one. How many of you can tell me how many of the miracles He gave them in the desert? How many miracles He gave them in the desert? Give me one.
The rock.
The rock. What? Water from a rock. Okay, that's good. Yes. Manna from heaven. The parting the Jordan. What others?
The clouds.
Well, clouds coming from the sun beaming. What else?
The pillar of fire.
Huh?
The pillar of fire.
Pillar of fire. Anybody else?
Quail.
Quail. Fed them from heaven. Birds. When they were tired of man. What else?
Their clothes did not.
Their clothes did not wear out. 40 years. Sandals walking out there. They weren't Nikes either. They didn't wear out. And not just some. Because you know how many battles they had in the desert? Huh? And they didn't lose not one. I can go on and on to show you, but they couldn't even remember one. That's a shame. The God that was doing some amazing things for them just to let them know how much He loved them. Folks, we need to start learning. Don't miss the blessing. Believe that God has you exactly where He wants you. Wait on God and stay committed. Turn to someone and say, stay committed.
Stay committed.
Let Him accomplish His purpose in you. Now here's Paul, 2 Corinthians. Turn your Bibles because you're going to need this, because now I'm going to have you study a little bit. We got a little time, so we're going to study. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 8 and 9. This is the great man of faith, Paul. He says, we are pressed on every side by troubles. What does it mean, pressed on every side by trouble? What is he saying?
Everywhere.
everywhere. It's coming from everywhere. You never know when it's coming, how it's going to hit you. Time, place, it'll come at any point in time. This is Paul saying that. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 8. Wait, the larger we become, and the more joyful our expectancy. Meanwhile, when we get tired of in waiting, God's Spirit is right alongside of us, helping us along. That's never abandoning us, ever. People who live in the past become famous because of their faith, not because of anything else. Keep waiting. Keep waiting. It will happen. Habakkuk chapter 2:3 tells you, keep waiting. It's only a matter of time. But here's the closing. We're going to have a couple of things to close this session today. We're going to have a little communion in a minute. What to do while we're waiting on God. You guys ready? Book of Numbers 33:2. And I want you to do this because in moving forward, I need this church, this body to really understand what they need to do. I need you to write down this week at least 3 things, a list of 3 things that God has done for you. Something that you can't deny that only God could do. This is what God did for me, that you can never forget. Write these 3 things down because they're going to be important. Paul said to keep on putting into practice the study of the Word. But here it goes. At the Lord's direction, Moses kept in writing record of their progress. See? Remember what you have learned about the Lord through your experiences, and that's what writing these things down is going to do for you. Take 3 instances in your life that God has done this for you. Write it down. If you want scripture on that, Deuteronomy as well, 11:2. Numbers 33:2. Acts. Jesus said, I tell you, whenever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it. It doesn't say believe that you already have received it. He says, live as if you already got it coming. It's there. But if you're going to, keep battling with yourself, then it's going to take a lot longer. Believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Mark 11:24. We do not want you to become lazy, folks, but imitate those through faith and patience inherit what has been promised. And that's Hebrews. Hebrews 6:12 tells you, listen, you need to understand that be patient in the process because God has already given it to you. Now, Paul keeps telling us, putting into practice of keeping those promises. Keep asking, and you will receive. Never be lazy in your work. He tells us, he said, don't give up on the habits of meeting together all the time. You keep sowing your seed. He said, and basically what is he saying to us at this point? He's telling us the things that we need to be doing. That means, don't quit serving. Don't quit, doing the things that, you've been doing at this point. So often we just want to throw in the towel and don't want to do it. Number 3 and 4, 7, he says, trust God. Here goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Are you ready? Keep on putting into practice what you learn. Number 1. Write that down. Number 2. Keep asking God, no matter what. That's Matthew 7:7. Number 3. Never be lazy in your work, but serve the Lord enthusiastically. Romans 12:11. 4. Don't give up your habits of meeting. Hebrews 10:25. Keep on sowing your seed. You will never know which one will grow. Ecclesiastes 11:6. You must keep believing that things you have been taught in the Lord. 2 Timothy 3:14. And last, 7. Trust God even when I'm afraid. Keep on trusting. Psalm 56. Folks, we need to hold on to what God is doing.
Yes.
Hold on. To conclude, as I said in the beginning with Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 to 5, that there is a time for everything, folks. We are not struggling and fighting against human beings for the spiritual forces of wisdom and mind. Waiting is not passive. Turn to someone. Waiting is not passive. When we imitate the habits that grow strong faith, we must grow in maturity. 5 actions that we have to help you in the waiting room when you're doing that. Keep praying, keep serving, keep assembling, keep sowing, and keep believing, folks. And as I'm going to close, I'm going to pray with this. As we say, what can your church do to help us as members when their dreams are postponed? I'm going to ask you to keep sowing, to continue to commit spiritually, even though you are waiting for the harvest. And the second part is that I want you to keep believing.
Keep believing.
How can your time in the waiting room amplify your trust in God? The only way to amplify your trust in God is those who endure and persevere. Let's bow our heads.